All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of Inspired by Jimmy L. Today we have Miss Hannah Gillitzer on, and she's going to give us a couple of tips about her life in the role of HR. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, what's this? I have no idea what just happened there. Make sure, okay, but it's recording, so we're just going to leave it. we are going to leave. I don't know what just happened there. It was just like a blip. But anyway, again, welcome to the show, and thank you so much, Hannah, for actually agreeing to come on.
Yeah.
So question, very first question. So you're in HR. How long have you been in HR?
A little over 5 years.
And so what about HR is interesting to you? I mean, because looking at it from an outsider perspective, HR, it seems like it's strenuous. It's just time consuming, energy draining. Like there's so many negatives that often are related to being in human resources. So for you, what drove you toward that?
Sure. So I took some classes in college about employment law, and I really, really loved the thought of helping a team or being the one to guide a team to make a safe, healthy work environment for employees, and knowing the legal and knowing the human side of things and really getting to marry that is what HR is all about, and being that advocate for employees. And so that's why I love being in HR.
I'm fascinated that you use the word safe environment. I'm really fascinated by that. So what is a safe environment for you? What does that mean?
So I think a lot of people will agree that sometimes when they go to work, they feel like a number, or they feel like what they do day in and day out doesn't matter. Or if they're having a bad day and maybe aren't performing up to standards, that they're worried they'll get fired. And really just keeping that human element and being able to say, like, I see you and I understand what's happening in your life right now. Like, let's see if we can work together and make this better for you. And then that will get better for the company as well. But just really putting the human first is something that I'm really passionate about.
And so in what capacity of the human resource are you in? And so, and by that, I mean, are you in a corporate setting? Are you in a warehouse setting, a medical setting?
Sure. So right now I actually work for myself and consult.
Okay.
But I have worked in a corporate setting and I worked in a warehouse setting with Amazon. So I've done a little bit of everything.
And so is there one that you find more difficult than the other?
Really, they all are difficult in different ways, right?
Okay.
Working in a corporate setting is difficult because there are very polished expectations of what's needed, especially in the area I worked. It was in a luxury car company. So, right, high expectations, expensive cars.
Of course.
Then the warehouse was a totally different set of people, of rules, of life, right? And so just having those two very distinct client groups, or even now when I consult, it's different every single day. Your client is different every single day. The individuals you work with are different every single day. And so being able to adapt to that is something that I've thankfully found really easy. And so that's why I've also chose HR, is really able to pick and choose my client groups and kind of change accordingly to what they need.
So what about HR in the 2019 world? Because it's evolving like crazy. This is my first time being in a corporate setting, and I've been in it for the last 8 years, and it's not what it was 8 years ago, and so it's been crazy. So what is it like for you from a human resource standpoint, being in human resource in the 2019 world?
So it's a lot of technology. Right now we have applicant tracking systems, and it's no longer come in and hand someone a resume and say, I'd like to work here, please. Right? It's job boards online, and it's, making sure that your resume is going to beat the tracker, which isn't really a real thing, but people are always worried about it. And it's, it's signing up for benefits online or calling someone that maybe won't work on site if you have an HR question, especially for bigger companies now. They house a lot of HR offsite. So there's a lot of technology that's come up. And with that, you have to be so careful as a leader or an HR professional or anyone in this scenario to, like I said before, not forget about the human side of things, because you can give someone a phone number, you can give someone a website, but when they just need to talk to a real human face to face, you can't have a technological equivalent of that.
That is definitely, you know what? So I'm really glad that you brought that up in regards to the leadership side of it, because especially in a warehouse standpoint, I've seen a lot of human resource representatives that are one-sided almost. So I've seen it on both ends. I've seen it where HR is 100% for the leadership team and really not more so for the hourly associate or the workforce. And then I've seen it just the opposite. Oh Lord have mercy, I almost named that company. But Jesus, I would not do that to them. But it has been just the opposite, where they're all about the hourly associates, and it's almost as if the leadership team doesn't have any power. And so that is really weird. How in the world, how can you bridge that gap? Or do you think that we should even try to bridge that gap between both entities?
So everyone should have one focus moving forward, right? When you come into work in the morning, you should all be working towards some kind of common goal.
Okay.
And what's really hard is being in the middle for human resources. My goals are supporting business functions for my clients. And that will mean, if it's in a warehouse setting, the hourly associates and the managers.
Okay.
And just making sure that the hourly associates are being told why, right? If something changes, tell them why, because if you're working with 5,000 people and you suddenly change a policy or a procedure or something, you just can't like drop it in their lap and walk away.
Yeah.
This isn't how the job market works now. You have to say, we made this change. This is why. Like, I'm here for questions. Your leadership team is here for questions. Like, how can we help? And having that open attitude is the difference, right? And then it's the same with the managers. They have things they need, right? They have, especially in a warehouse environment, like you're talking about, they have numbers, they have quotas, they have times they have to reach. But if they don't understand their team, they're never going to get there. And so really helping be that intermediary and say, okay, this is what our associates need, or this is what our leadership needs. And understanding those business functions is one of my main jobs. And understanding, okay, this is what they're trying to get at, and this is what they're trying to get at. Because when you have competing priorities, sometimes it can be moving in the same direction, but you don't see how they connect. So if you're trying to get something done, right, and the leadership team is pushing for these numbers and the associates are pushing for something to work more efficiently, they might be moving in the same direction, but unless they're able to have that conversation, right, in a safe space where no one feels like they're going to be fired for voicing an opinion, then maybe they're not going to reach those numbers because it isn't working as efficiently. But if we all came together for that common goal when we came into work today, we could get things done.
We can actually get it done. Okay, so you have got to deal with some type of opposition and confrontation. Like you just, Hannah, I mean, I see it every day. So I just know you do. So how do you go in? I understand that, hey, the company has hired you to come into, obviously, to consult or at least give your opinions or your thoughts or problem solve this issue. Are you working directly with the managers or the hourly associates, or are you just kind of a mediator, or are you working just for the top level executives? How does that typically work, before I ask my question for you?
So in the consulting role that I'm in right now, I mostly consult on hiring needs. So I'll be with either the HR team or a business leader or business owner, working with them about how to hire the right people or create a legal hiring process. And the other piece of my consulting is I work with especially young professionals, teaching them how to do resumes, interviews, all that good stuff. So I have very different client groups.
So,
But
so do you? Okay, so if I've hired you to come in to fix a problem, or you found a solution,
mhm.
how do you present that to a manager or leader that may not necessarily be on the same page with you, that may not necessarily believe in your quote unquote solution?
Mhm.
How do you deal with that? Because that has got to be kind of tough.
It is. And you have to know their language, right? If we're talking about operations, they're talking about time and money.
Okay.
So if
Okay.
I say, when you're hiring these kinds of people, you're losing this much money because every day they're out of a job, it costs X percent of their salary
Mm,
down the drain,
mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm,
Or
mm-hmm.
hiring and turnover costs this much per hire that we turn over. So if we were able to retain, this is how much money you'd save if you got to retain this one person for 6 months instead of 3 months. And
And
then you
after
watch
you
their eyes
present
go,
with a
hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
gotcha. So you basically you present the facts, you present the numbers,
Mhm.
okay, and then you allow them to, I guess, change your thought pattern or mindset behind your solution.
Right.
Gotcha. Gotcha. That makes so. What has been the most challenging, I guess, for you? Because how long you've been in consulting for the last 5 years, or just
I've
in
done
HR?
just consulting for the last two and some change, but before that,
So,
working for corporate companies.
so what has been your biggest challenge in the consulting side of it for the last couple of years?
Probably business owners not knowing the laws or wanting things that are illegal. Um,
Oh my
why I'm
goodness,
so
that does
passionate
not
about
happen in the world, does
I
it?
I know. I'm so passionate about making a really fair hiring process, right? It's everything from don't look at a name on a resume because it doesn't matter what their name is, right? And we all have biases. And
You know, I never heard of that.
but if we try to take steps to step around those biases or even bring awareness to them, right? Everyone's going to benefit in this process of hiring someone, right?
Yeah.
Because we all have to admit, like, we have biases, and that's
Oh,
okay.
absolutely. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the problem is when we realize that there are people out there that know that and they don't care. There was someone who contracted me to make a hire, and they gave me very specific
Mm-hmm.
things that they wanted. And they were talking about sex, age, gender identity.
Mm-hmm.
They were
Mm-hmm.
talking about how they physically looked, their age. I can hire for none of those things, right? Like, let's
Wow.
talk about, like, can they do the job? Like, have they
Yeah.
done things like this before? What are their big successes? Like, what wakes them up in the morning and gets them excited to go to work? Like, none of that matters where they were born or how they identify, or literally, that doesn't matter how you, like, has no impact on how you do
Has
your
not.
job.
Did you dealing with that situation, which is totally not one of my questions, but I got to ask since you brought it up. But dealing with that situation, like how do you navigate with something like that? Because do you service the client, or do you completely reject that and say I'm not going to be a part of that?
So that's something that recruiting professionals deal with every single day.
Mm-hmm.
I personally take the road of education first and assuming that they probably didn't know. That's my assumption, right? You're asking for something
You are
so
very
big
optimistic.
that they didn't know. And the thing is, they'll either push back and say, no, I know what I want.
Okay.
And I say,
Okay.
okay, well, that's illegal. Like, have a great day.
This is okay.
Or they're like, oh, I didn't realize that wanting a young marketing intern that knew social media,
Mm-hmm,
right? All the
mm-hmm.
air quotes,
Yep. 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 Yep.
was discriminatory, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because maybe the best candidate is someone whose kids just graduated college and he or she knows every single social media platform better than I do, right? We
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But putting those boundaries of things that don't matter is not going to get you a good hire. So
So
I choose education first and then leaving it alone if that's actually what they want.
that is so. When I say and this conversation is fascinating to me. My husband is in HR, and so he he does a little bit of recruiting because of his role. And so it's so he does elite staffing is what I should say. And he gets things like that all the time. And I was really fascinated to hear how you would respond in regards to how you handle that. But I mean, these are some big name clients
Yep.
that are asking for these really weird things. And so it's just, I knew it happened. I'm very interested or fascinated to see how people navigate between that, because it can go either way. You could service a client, and I'm just going to give you what you asked for, and you be political about how you ask, ask for certain candidates to apply and blah, 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 blah. You could literally do that, or you could put up a guard and say, no, this completely surpasses my integrity, and I'm not going to do it, And so it's really interesting to see that and hear that from you. So way to go, Hannah. I like that. Like, not that you need my kudos or anything, but way to go. Like, I really like that. That says a lot, and it gives me hope. Let me say that for HR. It gives me hope. It gives me hope for HR. So bringing it back around to what you do now from consulting, do you like consulting better than being under an HR, I don't want to say stricted, but being under an HR umbrella?
For me, it's a better fit. So okay. I've always loved the thought of owning my own business, and it's not easy. Nothing about doing your own thing is easy, as you know. It's not, you don't have a marketing team. You don't have a professional like copywriter. You don't have any of these things that businesses have, and you're it. So if you're not okay with that, I definitely recommend you stay in corporate. There's nothing wrong with a corporate job. It's funny that I'm consulting, trying to get people corporate jobs. Yeah. It's a very weird dynamic, but I love consulting, and I love that. I was just speaking. I went to Baylor University, and so I go back and speak every semester, and I just went on Wednesday. And so I took the whole day and just went down to Waco and hung out on campus and got some work done, and then went and spoke to 2 different student groups. And I'm able to do that because I don't have to ask a boss like, hey, can I take off Wednesday so I can speak to students? And for me, that's what works better. And for my family life and my personal life and for my mental health, it's what works best for me.
Okay, so I'm going to ask this, and this is probably going to be a longer question, and I'm because I just got to know. Sure. Times are changing drastically, and companies like Amazon, companies like Chick-fil-A, companies, Starbucks is another great example. Apple, they are leading the industry. And even, are you familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk and VaynerMedia? So I reached out to his chief heart officer the other day, and listening to how they operate is fundamentally different from most other huge corporations. How do you see organizations, I guess, in the next 5 to 10 years? Do you see them following their paths, or do you see them kind of sticking to their guns and older traditions? Because if we have to be honest with that, they are drastically different. People like Gary Vaynerchuk and his company. I mean, they look at resumes, but they don't really care. They're more so about, who is this person for this role, exactly what you just said. And so, and even Starbucks and Chick-fil-A, I mean, they're hiring a select type of people that are going to fit with their brand, and that's going to assist them to get to that next level. And older generations or older history, it's all about your schooling. It's all about your education. It's all about who you know that knows this person. I mean, how do you see it coming from a consulting standpoint, and even a corporate umbrella standpoint? How do you see it transitioning?
So I think that the world of needing a college degree, a master's degree, is going to disappear in the next probably 10 years. It's going to be more about what you can do, right? I see a lot more of pre-hire testing in our future, of just sitting down at a computer and seeing, what can you do? What are you good at, right? What what does this machine learning that I don't even know if this exists yet, but like, what does it say that you're really, really great at? Because there are different segments of individuals, whether they're people with disabilities or people that have something on their record, or just minorities, different segments of people that are often overlooked for positions they're like they could do today, but because of like a technicality, or they don't really have their degree, or they didn't finish college, or something that is a roadblock. And I see that going away. I see a person first hiring model because I can teach someone how to be a great customer service agent, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can teach them the system. We can teach them how to refund something at Target, but we can't teach them what to do when someone gets in their face that they had a double charge on their credit card, right? I can't teach that. We can try, but it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So having that person first is going to be something that I think we're going to see too big of a swing at first, but then it'll level out. But I think we're going to see a person first, and really, because education inside these companies is bulking up. I'm not sure about VaynerMedia, but I know that big companies, Chick-fil-A, Target, Amazon, the big ones have a really solid education and training department. Mm-hmm. And so it's just prepping the way for this sort of being able to train for the job and having the right person in that job.
I will say it's exciting the hell out of me. Like, I am so excited to see that. Before I get off to the last question, my last statement, how can people get a hold of you, Hannah, if they want to know more about you or even hire you as a consultant?
Sure. So my website is jobconfidant.com, and I hang out on LinkedIn. So I'm at Hannah Gillitzer on LinkedIn, and that's where I hang out mostly. I don't really do social media. So if anybody has a question, I have a contact form on my website, and I would love to chat with anyone that has a question.
Can you spell your website for me?
JOBCONFIDANT.com.
Please look her up. I really do believe she's going to have a lot of insight for you. And I'm being so serious. And back to the initial statement here, I am so excited to see where we're going. I know the company that I work for now, like, they just spent a little over $1 million company-wide to rebrand and redo the culture. Mm-hmm. And it provided a safety net for someone like me that was already within the company, never been to college a day of my life, never stepped foot in a college classroom a day of my life. And I'm a brand ambassador for $1 billion company. Like I and so to hear you say that and to know what is being done, I know within my own organization, I am super excited because it gives people like me that never wanted to go to college. It was never for me, ever. I don't knock it for anybody, but it was never for me. And but it gives people like me that just, you want your personality to come alive. I love communication. I love facilitating conversations. I love asking questions. I love getting to know people. And all of that has allowed me to build relationships to now bridge several gaps throughout the entire organization. Yeah. And so we got a chance to bridge the old habits with the new culture. And so it has been a challenge.
Yep.
Oh, it has been a challenge. Like, Hannah, it has been a challenge. I'm not gonna lie to you. So, but I'm with you. Like, I'm on LinkedIn. I do a lot of videos, and most of the people in the company are watching them now. And so it's been very interesting to see that and how they're slowly turning around. So, but I'm really excited about that. I'm super excited. So what is the next steps for you, Hannah? Like, are you going to just ride this wave out of consulting? Is there a bigger plan, a bigger goal in mind that you're looking to reach?
So my ultimate goal is I really want to kind of kill the questions around how to get a job when you're a young professional. I'm so tired of all the bad information that's out there Like you'll see the new hot thing is like putting a picture on your resume and having like Photoshop and 4 circles and filling in 3 of them. Like, what does that mean? It means nothing. Don't do it. It's too trendy. Don't do it. But just having a good information source. And I was talking at, like I said, I talked at Baylor on Wednesday. And one of the things I taught was so many of the career choices you're making are a choice that's outside the norm or outside what a very simple hiring or job search process looks like. Like if you want to show up to a interview wearing a red blazer, great. But make that a choice, right? Know where the company culture is. Make that a choice so that you don't show up to a interview wearing a red blazer when it's the most conservative company in the world, right? Know the rules so that when you break them, right? It's like Picasso said, like know the rules so you can break them like an artist, right? And just being able to have that base knowledge is something that I really want to give and have accessible for people. So my next step is I'm making classes and workbooks and different things that'll be on demand for people to be able to watch whenever they're in the situation where they're like, I want to submit a resume. What does that look like? Or I have a job interview. How do I prepare? And then also hopefully getting more speaking engagements. And that's my next step.
Now, how do you do that? How do you suggest someone to stand out? Because you have to be really self-aware and extremely bold to go against the normal, especially when your parents or the tradition is to go in polished, almost a fake facade on when you're going into an interview, putting on this overly professional voice. How do you get people to tune out the past, to be more of themselves, to do that in an interview? Like, how do you get people to do that?
So the red blazer example is a very extreme example, but with people there are people making these kinds of decisions thinking that they're normal or making a decision because they want to, and they're not realizing the effects of that decision. But when I encourage people to be themselves in interviews, right? We want to be professional and we want to have, a decent conversation flow. But if a company isn't hiring for something you want, or you're having to make compromises that maybe you didn't want to make, like you didn't want to work nights, but the role they kind of sprung on you in the interview, oh, it's going to work nights, or you're really uncomfortable with how their culture feels when you're in it, right? Those are decisions that you need to be able to make, and you need to be able to be yourself, because if they don't like who you are in the interview when you're at your most, right, together and polished and right, if that's not vibing, then it is not going to be a good situation a year down the road.
Yeah, I agree. I 100%. Thank you. I was really just curious. I like to probe, but if you can tell, I really like to access, because my interview process for my team, it changed about 6 months to a year ago. If I don't get a good vibe from you, I'm never going to hire you. And I'm also one. I look at resumes, but I really don't care about them. As long as you're working, I guess. I mean, I really don't know. Like, I don't know, because I train you on whatever the job is. Like, I normally don't care. But if our vibe is off in that interview, if I feel that your personality is not going to fit with the culture or with my environment, I'm never going to hire you. And so I try to make people, which I've been really good and comfortable with, is making people comfortable during the interview, because I need to know who you're going to be when I'm not around. I need to see you for that raw person. And so I can get all of you. And so that is very interesting. I'm hoping more people can adopt that.
Yeah, it's the simple, making sure that someone's qualified and then making sure they're a good fit, right? Yeah. It's people overcomplicate it, but making sure that they have what you need for the role and that they can achieve the role is all you need.
I like that. That is a good place to end. Hannah, thank you so much for being on the show. I really do appreciate you for your time, your energy, and just just trying to make the world different. And I'm so sick, because we need it. We need it. I swear to you, I'm excited. I'm excited to see where it goes. I am so excited. But thank you so much. Is there anything else that you would like to get out here that has not been said that you want listeners to know or understand about your role or about what you're doing?
I think the best way that you can support your HR team is using your power. If you're a leader, right? Because everyone's a leader, but especially if you're a leader, using your power and your influence to break down barriers and really let your team succeed is your job as a leader. And that's something I think we all need to be reminded of sometimes, is that you really work for your team. You work to make sure that they are, being able to do their work and being able to do it well and meeting goals and really making sure that that pyramid is flipped and that you are serving them is probably the tip I'd like to leave everybody with today.
I love that. Oh, Hannah, I love that. Girl, I love that. That's an even better place to end. I love that. I really do love that. Oh, wow. Okay, that's a tweetable moment. I will be tweeting that out after this is over. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. So, I didn't know. Oh my gosh, you have dimples. I did not see those earlier. That's so cute. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. Sorry, it's so not professional. So thank you again, Hannah, for being on the show. I really do appreciate it. I will be in touch. I actually will be sending you a message in just a second. I had a couple other questions for you. Sure. Okay. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah.
Enjoy your Saturday.
You too. Bye.
Bye.